Hello, good evening, and welcome to Spotlight. My name is Nuang Falong. Thank you for giving us 1 hour out of your evening. We intend to keep this conversation relevant. You're watching MX24. This is your home for fun, fearless, and factual content. We're very engaging on social media. Please join the conversation on social media, on all our social media handles at MX24GH. This evening, we are discussing Mali. Mali, because whatever happens in the neighboring countries affect us all. And as COVID-19 has come to show us, there is no country that's isolated from the rest of the world. Mali is part of the African sub-region, and it has just been suspended from Ecowas. Why has it been suspended from Ecowas? There's been a coup in Mali where the government has been toppled and the military has taken over. I'm just going to take you through a short timeline of how this occurred. Now, presently, I mentioned that ECOWAS has suspended Mali from the bloc, the regional bloc. This is an outcome of a summit that was held in Ghana, where some West African heads of states attended and decided to take this particular line of action with immediate effect. This entire situation came about because Colonel Assimi Goita, who is Mali's coup leader and newly appointed interim president, seized power from the sitting government. This story is even more unfortunate because less than 9 months ago, exactly August last year, the same Goita and others toppled the Malian government and seized power from a democratically elected president who was at that time Ibrahim Abubakar Keita. Now, the turmoil in Mali started last week when Goita ordered the arrest of President Ba and Prime Minister Mokhtar following a dispute over a cabinet reshuffle. In which they claimed that some members of the military were left out, members that Goita wanted within the reshuffle, but they were left out. Now, unfortunately, they could not solve the problem. The situation degenerated and the military seized power again. This is, of course, very, very worrying. Goita was vice president at the time this happened. President Ndao resigned while in detention on Wednesday, that was last week, and he was later released. Now, the Constitutional Court, contravening a joint declaration issued following talks in the wake of last August coup, named Goita as Mali's new transitional president. This was when the coup occurred last year. Now, the declaration reached between ECOWAS and Mali's civil and military leaders said that the vice president of the transition cannot, under any circumstances, replace the president. The vice president of the transition was Goita, who is a military man. Goita has unfortunately gone against the agreement between him and ECOWAS and seized power and now is in charge of affairs. ECOWAS has quickly responded in an emergency meeting and decided to suspend Mali from the ECOWAS bloc. Now, is this in any way the best response? Is this what will solve the situation in Mali, or does ECOWAS intend to take other measures? We're going to ask those questions today. We'll be joined by a Malian journalist who's been following the issue and reporting keenly on it. We'll also be joined by a security analyst. But before we get into all of that, we'll take a quick break and come back to the main discussion. Stay with us. Welcome back to Spotlight. I mentioned before we went on the break, we're discussing the coup in Mali, which has become a a widespread concern. Now, I gave you a timeline of 9 months within which 2 coups have occurred. That's not the only disturbances that's happened in Mali. In 2012, there was another coup. So Mali seems to have become synonymous with toppling democratically elected governments, and it's a very unsettling situation for the rest of the African region. We're going to be speaking with a security analyst who's Adib Sani. He's also a member of the AU mediatory team. He has a big position, and he's going to be explaining the issues in context for us to understand. We are also joined on the phone by Burema Sulo, who is a correspondent for West Africa Democracy Radio, and also from Mali. Thank you so much, Burema. Can you hear me, sir? If you can hear me, please just unmute yourself so we can hear you. We can't hear you.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening. Did I get your name right?
Yes, my name is Burema Sulo.
Thank you so much, Burema. I'll come back to you shortly, but in the meantime, let me just introduce Adib Sani, who is a security analyst, and I mentioned also has a big position. He's a member of the African Union's mediatory team. Hello, Adib.
Hello, no.
Thank you so much for joining us again.
My
Adib is
pleasure.
one of us at this point.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
It's my second home.
Let me start the conversation with Burema so he can help us understand what's going on since he's on the ground. What is the situation in Mali so far?
Thank you, my dear colleague. So the situation is calm here in Bamako. There are no demonstrations in sight except for the one planned by the M5, the movement behind the fall of the Ibeka regime on August 18th, 2020. Today, now, for the time being, the situation here in Bamako is very, very calm, very quiet.
How is it possible to have calm in the midst of such a serious political occurrence?
Sorry?
I'm wondering how the people are being calm in such... Are they not afraid? Are they not worried about the situation?
Yes, I think that the Malian people is used to live or to have such a situation since 2011. Now there are some kind of tiresome for the situation. So they don't do anything. So they are looking at what happened in the political schemes.
Imagine citizens getting used to coup and political disturbances. That's very, very worrying. Do you remember much from the 2011 time?
Yes. You know, here in Mali, the militaries are not so far from the power. So Mali was led by the military for 23 years by the former General Moussa Traoré. So here, if I understood your question, the coup is something like normal, so we are living on with it.
What have you spoken to any civilians concerning this particular coup? Have civilians been able to express themselves?
Yes, the political leaders are speaking, are condemning the coup. Otherwise, there are some civilians who are supporting the Colonel Assimi Goïta. Yes, the civilians are like in the life of here in Mali. They are divided into for and against the coup and the government. So it is so difficult to see clearly what the Mali is going on.
So there are citizens who support Goita. What
Yes,
is
yes.
their reason for supporting him?
Because here the political leaders are what, as I said, they have no confidence for
For the government?
the government. Yes. So even yesterday, when Assimi Goita uh, came back from Accra, he was welcomed by thousands of young people from the airport to his residence. So he is supported by the civilians.
Wow. Would you say these civilians are supporting him voluntarily? Is it because
Yes.
is it because they know him? What is his relationship with the people?
What I said, the political, since the coming of democracy here in Mali since 2000 and no 1990, like the situation of the country is going worse and worse. So now they want to change the leaders. That the young people would like to give the power to the militaries, to the soldiers, in order that redress the country, in order that give the country its development path. So they are voluntarily supporting the president of the transition, Colonel Assimi Goita.
Under these military rulings, which you've mentioned, there was a period even before 2011, and there was also a long period of military rule, about 23 years.
Yes.
Was the military, the people, do they think the military was doing better than the elected government? Because if I get you correctly, they lost confidence in the government. They did not think the government was performing as they wanted. But was the military doing better?
I don't think so, because if the military did better than the civilians, so we are not, we have been not in this case. So I think that either the military and nor the civilian, everybody is responsible for this situation, is guilty, I mean, for this situation. So the Malian people are, or is, I think, lost in his looking for the better man. So we are looking for this better man. So I think they are themselves lost, and they are, I don't know, they don't know who is the better, who is not. So they are looking for.
Now, with the military governments, are there any issues of human rights violations? Have any Malians been hurt in the process when these coups happen, especially? Are there any citizens that have been caught in the crossfire and gotten hurt through these issues?
For the time being, they are respecting the human right. So I don't know. It is 4 months ago, they had arrested 4 or 5 personalities which are who are accused to be preparing a coup over part of this case. Here, the military are respecting, the militaries are respecting the human rights. So I don't know, there are more violating this right more than the civilian regime.
Let me put it this way. Has anybody died from these changes, especially these coups?
No, nobody died, nobody. It's
Interesting.
without any blood that is caused. Yeah.
Interesting. Buremo, please just stay on the line with us. I want to bring Adib into the conversation. Adib is a security analyst. He's also a member of the AU mediatory team. Adib, this big position, what does it mean?
Well, I'm a member of the AU. Actually, it's a mediator's role.
Okay.
Anytime there's a situation in any part of the continent that requires that there should be a team on the ground to engage in any form of diplomacy or mediation efforts, we are part of the secretariat. So, for instance, when Kofi Annan of blessed memory mediated between the People's National Union and the Orange Democratic Movement in Kenya in 2009, it was the mediators team that formed the secretariat that eventually brought peace to the country.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, what we are hearing Buremo say, it seems that there's a dangerous progression of the situation where the citizens seem to be trusting the military more than they trust the elected government. What kind of situation is this? How does a country even arrive at such a place?
Well, no. Mali is not very different from many African societies. Mali is bridled with some deep-seated socio-economic and geopolitical deficits in the Malian society that makes it so vulnerable to coups and general insecurity. In the early 1990s, there was an economic adjustment program of some sort, which garnered a lot of support and made giant strides in improving the economy of Mali, which eventually got them joining the WTO in 1995. It, however, goes without saying that Mali has changed to a very large extent over the years. In the last 2 decades, Mali's population has almost doubled. Currently, there are about 20 million. And about 70% of the population are young people below the age of 25. You know, the level
Now,
of joblessness.
Let me explain. Doesn't it mean that they would be more suited for democratic rule? I mean, young people are more democratic than the older generation. Right?
Absolutely. The youth are the catalyst to development. At the same time, they could be a catalyst to insecurity when not well managed. Okay, so there are deep frustrations within Malian society. So when Colonel Goita takes up arms to overthrow a government, it's received pleasantly by a section of the population. So I'm not particularly surprised that after he returned from Accra to Mali, he had supporters like Brima mentioned, meeting him at the airport and cheering him to his destination. The people are fed up. The level of joblessness, the level of corruption that permeates through almost every aspect of Malian society, even including the military. And the level of insecurity, especially with the activities of the so-called Islamists in the northern part of the country, those Tuaregs and other Arab Bedouin tribes, and government's inability to deal with the situation has created a lot of disenchantment amongst Malians. And so I'm particularly not surprised that a lot of people within the Malian society welcome the takeover.
Let me bring in Buremo. Buremo, what would you say the main problems in Mali are? If you can hear me, please.
Sorry?
What are the main
Yes.
problems in Mali?
The main problems in Mali is the corruption. So, as said, the analyst, Malian society or Malian governance is not so far different from many countries many African countries. So the main difficulty, the main problem we have here in Mali is the corruption. After that, we have the unemployment. So as I said, many young men here are jobless. So this case or this situation is very, very difficult for them to suffer. So now, if we have any movement or any demonstration they they come and they manifest their anger. So the main problem we have, the main problem we have here, and we have to struggle to struggle against is the corruption. The corruption. That's why the Malian people lost interest for the civilian governance, because they think that the civil government is equal corruption.
Buremo, thank you for that. Now, Adib, what does this mean for the rest of Africa? Because if these problems that have been mentioned are not peculiar to Mali. In other countries in Africa, in Nigeria, in Ghana, we know there's cases where of unemployment, people complain about corruption. These are issues that are literally synonymous with many African countries. Yeah. Now, if we see that in Mali, the quick solution is for the military to pick up arms, what message is sending to other countries?
Well, it sends a very distressing message to other countries. And no, I'm excited you mentioned Nigeria. Nigeria is a country that can best be described as blessed. Yet Nigeria has the largest number of people living below the poverty line after India, the whole world, over 80 million Nigerians. And I have a number of friends within the Nigerian military, and I tell them, you are the strongest military in West Africa. How come you are not able to defeat Boko Haram? And the answer they give is corruption. So what is happening would send really dangerous signals to other countries that are going through similar issues, and the people starting to feel that the only way out is for the military to take over. Unfortunately, Ecowas has also not been able to really address the issue in a much more sustainable manner than they did previously, because I remember last year when the military took over and the heads of states arrived in Ghana. I was at the Jubilee Lounge as part of my media
it's simply
engagement.
A repetition. Last year, the same. This year, we had the same thing. They came to Accra, they sat down, did an emergency meeting. The outcome has been what? To suspend Mali. But
and when we suspend them and finally we get the military to hand over power, then we wash our hands off Mali. But we have a protocol, ECOWAS protocol, that was promulgated in 2001. It is protocol on democracy and good governance. That gives so much credence to human securities as a means of engendering security in the wider West African subcontinent, respect for the rights of the people, the need to build institutional capacity to hold the democracy in a much more formidable manner. And that is what is missing on this occasion. We don't follow up. We don't galvanize resources. The partnership is not as strong as it is like elsewhere. As a result, you only succeed in cutting the leaves of the weeds on the farm instead of uprooting them. So the problems still exist and they recur. And let me also add that the President Ba, I think he was also disingenuous to ECOWAS, because you agreed in principle. The president would be civilian, the prime minister would be a civilian, the vice president would be from the military. However, when they are transitioning into democracy, February 2022, the vice president, who is from the military, would not succeed the president. And the security minister, the defense minister, military, then from nowhere, without recourse to the principles agreed on, without consultation, you decide to reshuffle and kick out the military. I mean, even our president, Nana, he mentioned it. That the way things were done also by the president is wrong. So I think that we need to deal with it in a much more sustainable manner. But you asked a very important question, and that is the implication for West Africa. There are a lot of terrorist groups, especially in the northern part of the country, within the Sahel belt. Ansar Deen, Ansar Sharia, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, etc. They are hell-bent on spreading their ideology, the whole of West Africa. So if the political stalemate continue as it is in Mali, it gives them that unique opportunity to consolidate their gains and spread out. And Ghana is also not left out. I mean, the possibility that there will be implications for Ghana as a result of what is going on in Mali is very high. So for anyone to think it's none of our business, it's Mali, I think the person should have a real look at the issues.
How can we manage the situation, not just for Malians, but for the other countries that are watching and are concerned and worried for ourselves? How can we manage it and prevent it from coming into our borders?
First of all, they need to accept the established fact that it is in the best interest, it is actually in their best interest to ensure there's peace and security in Mali. Partnership, collaboration, it is extremely key. Share intelligence, share information, let us galvanize resources, see how we can push the Malian authorities to be able to at least give the people access to basic necessities of life: food, water, employment, shelter, etc. By doing it that way, we should be able to a very large extent, deal with the situation in a much more sustainable manner.
So, some people have said it's important for France to intervene. Is this even necessary? We have the Ecowas, we have the African Union. Why is France part of the conversation?
Well, France still has a very firm grip on their former colonies, and their former colonies also understand and accept that. The French taking the lead, so to speak, and this might be counterproductive because already it was tried, and it became like a propaganda subject matter for these terrorists who feel that, hey, our lands is being invaded by the French, they are coming to take away our resources, they are coming to rape our women, etc. So I would expect that Mali, Ecowas takes the lead, but get the French to play a peripheral role of some sort, maybe in the form of technical assistance, maybe in the form of aid, or perhaps provide us with, some advanced surveillance reconnaissance systems that we can use to deal with the terrorism scourge in that part of the country.
How do we prevent it from coming out, from spreading out? Because when an insecure situation is created, you said it's fertile grounds for disturbances, it's fertile grounds for all these terrorists whose tentacles can easily move into other territories, like ours. How do we clip it and ensure that it doesn't move from where it started?
Well, you see, I was at Kofi Annan International Peace and Training Center, and we were discussing a similar topic. And one of the issues that came up is hybridity in managing the security situation in West Africa. Hybridity, I mean resorting to ways that we hitherto didn't feel is important, rather than the militarized posture, which, by the way, is a step in the right direction, like we have with Operation Bakan. We should also invest in the people, because what these terrorists do is, if they seize an area, establish a caliphate of some sort, impose taxes, and provide the people services government doesn't provide. So they win the hearts and minds. So first of all, investment.
We can see that the military in Mali has already won the hearts and minds of most of the Malians.
Exactly. So investment in human security is key. Secondly, we need to share intelligence. Borders would have to be better manned. Intelligence would have to be improved. Unfortunately, within the West African sub-region, we don't share intelligence. Someone would be wanted in Nigeria. The person runs to Ghana. He's with the police every single day. Nobody knows he's wanted in Nigeria. So if you are able to share intelligence in the form of a biometric database of some sort, so if you are wanted in Mali, automatically the Ghanaian authorities should know that, hey, you are a wanted individual in Mali.
But you see, what disheartens me about this is, I remember when there was a prison break in Nigeria, we sat here and we spoke about it. Some of the men were found in Ghana.
Yes. Yes,
we
and it's
talked,
not
you know,
surprising.
all the angles are known. We know that what we're supposed to do. But if common armed robbers from a prison can find their way into other countries, how much more terrorists who have studied their art and are well financed?
Well, and I speak as a terrorism and counterterrorism specialist. They are able to establish what we call sleeper cells. Even though Ghana, for instance, remain largely untouched by the terrorism scourge, you cannot discount the fact that we could have some of them in the country. Okay, we really need to be very careful. We need to improve border security, and gladly, we have a border management team under the capable leadership of one of the finest military officers in Ghana, Brigadier General Emmanuel Kotia, who are doing fantastically well. They are improving the border security situation in the country. However, there's still a lot more work to be done. No, my biggest challenge is them not including the locals. We need to include the locals in the security management process, because when you go to a village somewhere in the Upper East region, how would you know strangers from the indigents? But when you include the indigents in the management process, any new person who comes, they know that, hey, this man or woman is not from here. You know, so we need to include them. But generally, I think that we really, really need to implement a lot of these security protocols at the sub-regional level. So together we can improve the security collectively, because there's a possibility that whatever happens in one country can spill over into another country. At the height of the civil war in 2011 in Ivory Coast, we had militants moving from Liberia into Ivory Coast. Okay, so the possibility that we can have some of these terrorists moving beyond Mali to other parts of the subcontinent, which is quite, probable.
Let me ask Buremo a quick question. Buremo, if you're still on the line, please just unmute yourself for me, please. What do Malians think about this suspension from ECOWAS?
Yes, Malian people were very, very afraid of this heavy sanction from ECOWAS. But what we have seen is the suspension of Mali from ECOWAS bodies. They are relieved to see that ECOWAS has only suspended the country. So there are, what I said, they are relieved to be only excluded from ECOWAS bodies. So here we are very, very happy that the ECOWAS didn't take any other sanctions like closing the borders or economical sanctions. So we are very happy here.
Buremo, you personally, do you think the ECOWAS could have responded in a different way? What did ECOWAS fail to do for Mali?
So Mali, you know that Mali is among the first who decided to put ECOWAS in place. So Mali is like a third ponder of ECOWAS. So when ECOWAS come here in Mali, somehow it's coming to resolve some kinds of questions, some kinds of issues happening here in Mali. When ECOWAS comes here in Mali, I think the politicians, the civilians, the militaries, everybody is expecting for something from ECOWAS. So ECOWAS is doing very big things. Without ECOWAS, I think that Malian solution or Malian crisis will be unsolved. So with ECOWAS, I think we have a part of solution, because the other countries support our country to get out of this crisis.
Thank you very much. Now, Adib, we mentioned that last year everybody remembers this same issue playing out. It has played out again less than a year. We also know that in 2012 there was a coup. What is the African Union not doing, and what is ECOWAS not doing to stall this entire situation? Because there must be a role that the bigger regional body can play to at least mitigate these political disturbances in Mali.
Well, one of the biggest issues is our inability to engage in what we call preventative diplomacy. I would have expected that ECOWAS, or better yet, AU, would have certain mechanisms in every single country. I've written extensively about Kenya and their post-election violence in 2007. Before the 2007 election, AU developed an early warning mechanism report on the country and detailed how the level of ethnic bigotry, the developmental imbalances, amongst other socio-economic issues, can cause trouble, can cause violence in the elections. Unfortunately, the document didn't receive the attention it deserved, and we all witnessed what happened after the election in 2007. As a result, I thought that lessons should have been learned. We should have early warning mechanisms in place in every single country. By so doing, based on certain indicators at a certain period of time within a certain context, we are able to make sense of situations in the country and be able to determine that the possibility of a coup happening is very high. And with that information at hand, we should be able to engage the appropriate authorities to find a lasting solution to whatever issues they have within the country, so it doesn't culminate into a coup in the first place. Secondly, I think civil society has a very important role to play as well, because in the past, the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, West African Network for Peace, amongst other civil society groups, have developed their own early warning mechanisms that has really helped so much in preventing a lot of sticky situations that could have resulted in conflicts. Secondly, there's the need, like I said, when I did my MSc in Defense and International Policies, I wrote on human security as an emerging form of security governance in Africa and used Ghana as a case study. Before 2012, in Ghana, for instance, we had a human security directorate at the National Security Secretariat headed by General Retired Nunu Mensah. But when he was removed, the Human Security Directorate has become almost defunct. And a lot of Ghanaians feel or think that national security is the booga way of doing things. Go and arrest, flex your muscles. But they don't know that not having access to food or purchasing power to buy food is a national security issue. They don't know that when you don't have access to water to drink, it's a national security issue. Where to sleep. At least every citizen should be assured, 18 and beyond, of some basic income at the end of the month. People should be, the people's rights should be respected. Our environments should be protected. If it doesn't rain, it's a human security issue. But we don't seem to give credence to it. Our militarized approach to dealing with the insecurity issue in West Africa is part of the reason some of these insecurities keep recurring, because we deal with it in a superficial manner. And that is the mistake ECOWAS and AU is making. Our unappreciation of the nuances of the issues in West Africa is the biggest problem. Okay, Mali is a complex case. So if you don't understand that complexity, you might be dealing with the issues superficially. So I think that if we focus the very governance structure of ECOWAS AU at the individual level, we should be able to deal with a lot of the insecurities.
Thank you so much, Adib. If you're just joining us, this is Spotlight on MX24 television. We're discussing the crisis, political crisis in Mali, where the military has just toppled the government. Mali has also been suspended from the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. We want to know if there could have been other approaches. What does the political disturbance in Mali mean or represent for other countries in the sub-region and our security? We are speaking with Adib Sani, who is a security analyst. We're also speaking with a Malian journalist, Bourey Mosulo. We'll be back after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Spotlight. We are discussing Mali, political disturbances in Mali, with specific reference to the recent coup by the military and Colonel Keita. We are also discussing previous coups. We noticed that in the last 9 months, in the space of 9 months, there have been 2 coups in Mali. In 2012, there was also another coup in Mali. So this is quite an alarming situation. We want to get a lot of answers to what is going on and how the rest of the sub-region can prevent linked security disturbances. We are speaking with Bourey Mosulo, who is a correspondent for West Africa Democracy Radio. He's a Malian journalist. We're also speaking with Adib Sani, who is a security analyst and member of the AU mediatory team. Before we went on the break, Adib, you were speaking about some of the oversight responsibilities of the ECOWAS, which failed to happen, especially when we look at what has happened between the last coup and this coup. You mentioned there, there could have been a lot of surveillance. We could have noticed the situation was evolving and getting critical. All of that was missed. Can ECOWAS be blamed in any way for this second coup?
Well, the main blame should go to the Malian authorities. But ECOWAS definitely cannot disassociate itself from what is going on, because I'd expected that the leadership would be more assertive, they would be more critical, they would have a full appreciation of the dynamics and put in place certain mechanisms that would prevent Mali from sliding back, considering how volatile, how vulnerable the country is to a military takeover once again. Unfortunately, that wasn't done. Like I said at the beginning of the program, we washed our hands off Mali. We decided to leave Mali on autopilot, thinking that once we have pushed or forced the military to hand over power to a civilian authority, that is it. No, I think a lot more work could have been done by ECOWAS. I listened to the ECOWAS chair, President Adodankwa Akufo-Addo, talk about the need for us to understand what the dynamics are. Then I was like, eureka moment. Okay, now we are getting there. Because if you don't really have a full understanding, it becomes really difficult to deal with.
Let me go to Buremo. If you're on the line, please say hello. Let me hear you.
Yeah, hello.
Fantastic. How can we stop coups in Mali? Is this even possible?
It is difficult to stop coup. We don't think that this coup is the last one, because if we want to put end of the coup here in Mali, we want to improve governance. We want to improve security and many things over. So in order to put an coup here in Mali, we have a long path do. So I don't know what medicine we have in order to put an coup here in Mali, because when we choose a political leader, that is better when he is elected, so he changes his face and he becomes someone other. So I don't know the miracle we had to change our system. We need to change the system here in Mali, because the problem of the Mali is the system. Since 2000 and since 1990, the coming of democracy here in Mali, we have we have always in the same system, which promotes the corruption, promotes unemployment, and other issues
Barema,
we live here in Mali.
Barema, now you see, these problems that we are talking about is not only Mali that has these problems, especially other African countries. Improvement in governance, yes. Improvement in security, yes, improvement in unemployment, improvement in different facets of life. This is a situation, corruption. They are all situations that a lot of countries share, even outside
yes.
Africa. Now, when we come to Mali, what makes it so different, such that Mali quickly resorts to the military? I mean, if all other African countries decided that because of corruption, unemployment, terrorism, governance, poor security, they will quickly defer to a coup, that would be very
yes.
unstable for the whole of Africa.
Yes, because as I said a minute ago, I think that Mali military or soldiers are used to exercise power. So they are no far from the power. When you remember from 1969 to 1990, Malian was governed, was ruled by military. So our militaries are not far from the power. That is the particularship of the Malian case.
Right. What do you see as a solution going forward? Now, the Ecowas has suspended Mali. The requests have been put in place. Do you see a peaceful transition to a more democratic situation?
Yes, I think that they're rectified what they began with putting, M5 respect the moment they're against President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita's government. So now the Colonel Assimi Goïta has given the Prime Minister department to the M5. So we think that with their upcoming of this position, Mali will know the peaceful transition. But otherwise, we don't know, because when we have the military at the head of the state, we don't know what happens tomorrow. We don't know what will happen after tomorrow. So we are begging, blessing that Mali will know the peaceful transition.
Right. Thank you, Burema. But Adib, if it happen, what is a comfortable time frame within which this transition should happen?
Well, I think ECOWAS is still sticking to the February 2022. I think Mali should, as soon as possible, return to civilian rule. However, we need to
February 2022 for an election.
Yes.
An election. But in the meantime, What are the changes that should occur for us to feel comfortable and us as stakeholders collectively? Because now he's handed over, according to the Prime Minister's position, back to the Democratic side. What next?
Well, you see, no, you see, I agree with Brahima. You see, the Malian system is been designed such that it doesn't look like the Ghanaian system. Ghana, there's some
It doesn't
level
look like any
of
system, it seems.
yeah, Ghana, there's some level of executive control over the security services. Okay,
Yes, yes, yes.
but when you take a closer look at countries where the military enjoys some degree of autonomy, it becomes very susceptible to coups. Take, for instance, Egypt. The military is so powerful in Egypt. I mean, they win huge government contracts. They construct almost the biggest bridges, the housing projects. They have wealth, oil wealth, and the rest. Okay, Mali is a country where you cannot completely detach the military from the governance structure. So let us be realistic. The military would always have a role to play. However, it has to be clearly defined. So I would expect that we get realistic and not ask the military to hand over everything to the civilians. It might be shaky even if they are forced to the wall to do that. Rather, we should them handing over the premier position to a civilian is a good step in the right direction. Maybe we can have the military give other concessions to the civilians, but I would advise ECOWAS not to push them to hand over everything. So that administration can be in place. Then ECOWAS would have to follow up and ensure that Mali is able to build on its institutional capacity.
Adi, but if they don't hand over everything, it leaves them with enough power to topple another government. Because in the previous government, they still had control.
Yes.
And that was how they were able to rise up against, the whole country. If they leave them with power, don't you think this is going to happen again?
Well, I would have wished that they hand over everything to the civilians. But you see, the Malian system has been crafted such that even the civilians are used to the military having a role in the body politic of the country. So I am being a realist here, okay, not an idealist. So we cannot run away from it. That is why we need to
Peculiar
get them
solutions,
to make concessions. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Adib. Let me just get some closing remarks from Burema, if you're there.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, Adib was saying that we cannot have the military completely out of governance in Mali. Do you think it is possible for military and civilians to rule hand in hand in Mali?
I agree with Habib. I think that we cannot dissociate military from civilian government, because here our military is like political party. So if there, when there are some troubles, when there are some manifestations or demonstrations, they are looking at this situation, and after they came in power, so that they are getting normal the situation. So it will be difficult to dissociate military, our military from government, civil government. So what we can do now, maybe we can do that. This also will be difficult to do, because Malian institutions are most controlled not by military, but who controls this institution based on, they think that they have military in their side, so they control this institution. So it is the political leaders who put militaries in heart of their actions. So it will be difficult to dissociate military from the power.
Thank you, Burema Sulo, who is a correspondent for West Africa Democracy Radio. He's also a Malian journalist. Let me just take some closing remarks from Adib, and then we can wrap up on Mali for now.
By the way, West Africa Democracy Radio is a platform I appear on very often.
That's
Very,
nice.
very, they are doing a good job. I think what is happening in Mali should be a lesson to all governors. I mean, governments in Africa. I mean, I wouldn't justify coup whatsoever, but it reveals certain dark truths about our society. Never take the people for granted. Never ever think you are coup proof. You cannot be coup proof. However, I would hope and pray that His Excellency brings his assertive leadership to bear and ensure that there is progress in the level of collaboration, partnership amongst the various countries within the West African sub-region, so we are able to support Mali to the best of our ability going into the future, so this coup issues doesn't recur.
And thank you so much. Interesting comments there. Many lessons for the rest of Africa to learn in the case of Mali. Also, many opportunities for West Africa, the rest of Africa, to collaborate in ensuring that the situation in Mali does not degenerate. My name is Nwong Falong. This is Spotlight on MX24 Television. We're grateful for your time. On behalf of the entire production team, thank you for your time. Good evening.